Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. Let's talk about the Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering collaboration. This video, let's just look at the pre-constructed decks. Maybe later I'll look at the main set, and maybe group them by game. Maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that kind of a pattern. And then I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm not going to go into detail into every card. But I'll talk about all of the commanders here, and some of the cards that stood out to me. But here, first, we can go from the upper left. We got Celes, Rune Knight. I'm definitely going to pick up the pre-constructed deck for Final Fantasy VI. That's one of my favorites. And then I've already built a deck for Celes. I'm using a hand-drawn proxy for the commander card. And it's funny, the way that I want to play her, I don't need any of the cards from the pre-constructed deck, so I would be getting it more for the nostalgia, and then maybe the land base than anything else. Maybe later I'll make a video talking about my deck for Celes Rune Knight, but I see her as a great enabler for Agatha's Soul Cauldron, so maybe that gives you some hints on where that deck is going. But Celes, she is red, white, and black, and the more I play, I think the less I identify or like blue and green, so this is kind of my ideal three-color combination there. Next is Cloud. I might pick up the pre-constructed deck for 7. People that know me know that I don't like 7 as a game, but there are some cards in there that I would like, so maybe. But yeah, Cloud, he looks like all his versions look like good equipment cards, and there's a lot of equipment support in this set, so if you are a fan of that type, then I think you'd be very happy with this set. Next is Guraha Tia, no idea if I'm saying that right, from 14. 14 I will not be picking up. I've never played that. I probably will never play that. I acknowledge that it's very popular, but I don't know anything about it. And I guess the archetype here is creating heroes and then putting +1/+1 counters on it. Heroes, that's a new thing for this set, where you just create a 1/1 and it's just a generic guy, but it gets a job and then extra stats and stuff, which is cool. That also kind of ties to the equipment thing, where like one of the problems with equipment is that you need cards for both equipment and the characters to use them. But with these job select cards, you get the character attached, so that makes equipment easier to use. Next we got Terra in 6. You know, I love all the characters, and then Terra and Celes, they have a lot of similarities, but I like Celes more. I mean, I love them both, but like, Terra strikes me as more sort of like childlike, her character and then her story arc, while Celes is more adult, and that's what appeals to me. But as for what she does, Mills cards gets flying, that's cool. And then if she deals combat damage, pay 2, and then return a target creature card of power 3 or less. Alright, so that's self-mill, and then recursion, and then you can maybe limit your cards to power 3 or less. And that would be lots of value, so I can see the appeal of that deck, but yeah, Celes, she appeals to me more. Second row, we got Tita, and then he is Bant. My Riga deck is Bant. That's kind of the exception that I'll make in order to play green and blue, but for the most part, don't really like those colors. And then Tita has to do with moving counters around, which is maybe cool. But I don't know. It sounds like a lot to remember. There was a Bant pre-release, pre-constructed deck from New Capenna, which was also like that. I avoided that one because it looked complicated. And then we have Tifa. She looks crazy. If I'm reading the second ability right, if you are playing Commander and you attack 3 other players, you might get 3 extra combat phases, which should win you the game there. That's pretty crazy. And then next is Yashutara. I know people will grate against my pronunciation there, but that's the Japanese pronunciation. I made a video actually talking about why I pronounce her that way, so I'll link to that below. You can have a look. She looks interesting. It's maybe like Spell Slinger, and then drain people, and then draw cards. That seems pretty good. I don't know if I would play that deck though. And then finally is Yuna. I would like to make a deck of one of the summoners, but I'm trying to decide which one. Yuna kind of looks good here. But she adds mana, does +1/+1 counters, I guess when like sagas go away, for example, if it had counters on it, then you can move those counters to, or move them as +1/+1 counters to something else. Might be interesting. Also might be a good cauldron enabler, but not as good as Cell is. Also, if you know me, I am a fan of X2, so if they, in a future set, do a release with those kinds of cards, I would definitely pick those up. I really like Pine, and I'm almost certain that they would do another Final Fantasy set in the future. I think the set is like super well done, so Square Enix must be happy about that. They put a lot of emphasis on 7 and 14, which are their most relevant titles now. I'm guessing Square Enix is happy with this release. It's selling really well as well, and they have fans within the Square Enix offices that are fans of Magic, so I could see another set happening. I know a lot of people are wondering about Tactics in particular, but I think that's its own agreement there. If you followed mobile games at all, it's seemingly very difficult to do collaborations with Tactics in particular, so I would not hold my breath for Tactics in Magic the Gathering. Alright, let's get into the deck cards, and I'm not going to talk about all the cards, just the ones that interest me. But General Leo here. Love the character from the game, of course, and this art is pretty good. I'm always a fan of like the original Japanese art, as opposed to like kind of like Western interpretations of it, but this is pretty good here. And then mechanics-wise, he has good synergy with Terra, which makes me feel good. But he might be a little bit expensive. And then the way that I'm using my Celes deck, I want to play stuff from my graveyard, and then General Leo would enable that. But rather than like playing other cards to recur stuff from the graveyard, I think more rely on characters that can play themselves. So like skeletons or zombies or whatever, where you pay something to return them to the field. So yeah, I'll talk about that when I show off the deck. And then on the lower right is Protection Magic, and that's kind of the art style that I like for Final Fantasy. More sort of like, maybe it looks more hand-drawn, the lines, rather than everything being painted. And then, mechanics-wise, put shield counters on up to 3 target creatures. I really like shield counters. This comes from playing Riga. It's like a protection spell, like Dawn's Truce or Snakeskin Veil or something, but you can use this anytime. The shield counters will be there whenever they come in handy, so I like the flexibility of this. You could do it reactionary or you could do it preparatory. I might want to pick that card up. Next, the only card I'm really interested in here is Ultimate Magic Holy. I like protection spells, and this could be good. Permanents you control gain indestructible. I would maybe want this for my Celes deck, so I could protect, all my creatures, but also my Cauldron. I know the Cauldron is going to be a target for removal, so any protection spell that protects also artifacts, I like. And then spells that also prevent damage to you, they've saved my bacon many times and kind of led to my win many times. So yeah, I like it for that as well. That's a reason maybe I'd want to pick up the 7 precon. Next slide. Oaka from 10. That's an interesting ability. Remove a counter from a non-land permanent you control, draw a card. But the character's annoying. He's annoying in X2 as well, but maybe I could ignore that in order to use him. The next one that's interesting is Espers to Magicite. This is a very kind of a heart-wrenching scene in Final Fantasy VI, but the ability is cool. You exile each opponent's graveyard, that's very powerful, and then you can choose a target creature, and you get a copy of that creature, but it's an artifact. So it wouldn't be a creature anymore, it'd only be an artifact. But you would be able to get the activated and triggered abilities, so maybe get back a Blood Artist or a Mana Dork or something more powerful. That's kind of an interesting card there. Next slide, we have some 6 cards, which I'm very excited about. The Falcon, it can recur stuff from your graveyard and also recur itself from the graveyard. That's really interesting. And then we have the pairing of Shadow and Interceptor. They're very cool. We'll look at Shadow first. When Shadow deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice another non-land permanent. If you do, draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrifice permanent. And what you could do is that when Shadow attacks, you can recur Interceptor from the graveyard, because he is a legendary creature, pay 2 and a black. So Interceptor comes out, maybe does some damage, and then at the end of combat, with Shadow you could sacrifice Interceptor to draw 2 cards, and then do the damage to everybody, 4 damage. And then Interceptor can come back on future combat phases. This is very flavorful, kind of similar to how Interceptor works in the game, but also a fairly powerful ability in Magic, so I like that. Flavor win and mechanics win. And then there's a Rejoin the Fight in the lower left. That's cool artwork there. Mill 3 cards, and then opponents choose creatures from my graveyard to put out onto the battlefield. That's fun. That's like Celes, recruiting different people around the world in the World of Ruin. And then Siegfried, kind of a minor character from Final Fantasy VI, but can get kind of powerful actually. I like that. Next slide, we have some red cards. Avalanche, that's one of my favorite things from Final Fantasy VII. And then watching playthroughs of the remake, I thought they were really well done in there. Next is Keitoshi, again, Japanese pronunciation. This is kind of a strong ability. Scry 1, exile top card, and then if I play it, then a creature gets plus X to the power, according to the card's mana value. That can be kind of strong. Gao from 6 also looks strong. Cheap character, 2 power, gets stronger, and then deals damage to everybody. That's pretty good. And then Gogo from 6. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have Gogo become a copy of another target creature you control until end of turn, except its name is Gogo, so that would get around the legendary rule. And then they both get plus 2 power and haste. This might actually go into my Subira deck. She likes characters with power 2 or less, but I can give them unblockable before combat, so they would still be able to get that even with the power-up buff. I could copy like Professional Facebreaker, or Generous Plunder, or Ifrit Flame Painter. Lots of options, so I don't know. That might go in there actually. And then Sabin, or Mash from the Japanese. He's got the Blitz ability, which is very appropriate. And then there is Snort, also from 6. This is a cool ability. I like wheeling, you know, especially in red. And then doing damage, you know, this might fit into my Subira deck. I need to show that off. I've done some upgrades to that. And then Strago and Realm. I love this art. They both look very cute. But kind of a strong ability here, too. Exile top of opponent's library until I can get an instant sorcerer creature, and then I can pay that for free. That's kind of good. On this slide, Umaro from 6, of course. Got random abilities there. I like randomness. But Yuffie, she might be one of the stronger cards in the collaboration. But Red Ninjutsu, that seems kind of rare. I don't know if I've seen that before. And then you can take an artifact from a player. You could take their soul ring, or you could take their equipment and like hit them harder. I don't know, pretty good. I wish her power were 2. Then maybe I would put her into my Subira deck, but I don't know. Here we have Lock. Create treasure or cast spells, that's okay. Mog is kind of cool. Create Mog or other Moogles and then make them bigger. I like the artwork. That might be an interesting commander, I don't know. Papalimo looks strong. Black-white Spellslinger, maybe. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, drain everybody. And then you can sacrifice him to have everybody sacrifice a creature. That's kind of good. Oh, and then Sephiroth here. I want this Sephiroth. So this is another reason to get the Final Fantasy VII Precon. In addition to like Yuffie and then Avalanche and Barret, I thought Sephiroth was one of the best parts of the original game, but I didn't like how they tried to keep expanding his lore and history and character, like showing his background or showing his childhood, and I'm like, I don't care. He's much cooler, I think, when he's just like a scary villain, which I think they did well in the original game. But talking about this card, I would want to put him in my Cella's deck because he can recur from the graveyard very cheaply. Just 3 colorless while sacrificing a modified creature. In my Cella's deck, I should have a lot of modified creatures with the +1/+1 counters. And then when he attacks, everybody becomes a 7/5 if they are modified. So that could kind of be a kind of a finisher for the deck. Just get a lot of big creatures, go wide, and then attack. Flavor-wise, it upsets me because that means like everybody's becoming Sephiroth, but whatever. I can overlook that in order to win a game. But yeah, I do want this card. Next slide, Setzer looks interesting. He kind of centers around vehicles and then flipping coins. So it might be interesting to look at, like, you know, what combinations are available there in black and red and see if a deck is fun or maybe viable. And then the other card here that's interesting is Conformer Shuriken. That looks very strong. Equipped creature has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature that defending player controls. That's very good. And then if that creature has greater power than this creature, put a number of +1/+1 counters on the creature equal to the difference. That's also very good. That would be another reason to get the 7 precon. And then Warring Triad is interesting. It's a mana rock, costs 3, but it can become a big, tramply, hasty creature. That's really interesting. And then here we have some black cards. I like this Archfiend of Depravity. It's Doomgaze, or Deathgaze from 6. But it's never named on the card, so that's kind of a cool sort of insider reference there. And then we got some more black cards. Pitiless Plunderer, very good card. And then a funny reference to Edgar when he was kind of going undercover to break into his own castle. That's very cool. Rise of the Dark Realms, that is like the awesomest artwork I've ever seen for Final Fantasy VI. That would be a cool playmat. And then Snuff Out. I don't have a copy of this, but it's a very good card. It's in the Final Fantasy XIV Precon. I will not pick that up for just that card, but yeah. Pretty strong and pretty expensive as well. And then I'm just looking at this for the first time, but this stitched together artwork, these are all the dreams from Shadow when you stay at the inn. Oh my god, this is awesome. And then next, this is more kind of flavor, which I thought was very cool, but Wayfarer's Bauble is Gao's diving helmet, which, you know, takes you to new areas. I really like that. And then we got the 2 faces reflected in the helmet. That is awesome. And then I love all of these lands. Like, these are all like reprints, right? So they have the names of the lands that we already know from other sets. But looking at the picture and then looking at the flavor text there, we see that these are different lands from the games. So very, very cool. But like Ash Barrens, we look at the very bottom, it says Final Fantasy VI. It says there's a legend that tells of an ancient battle between the Esper Odin and a powerful magus. It took place in the Great Hall of a castle. We can get to this kind of secret area using Gao's diving helmet. And that's where we get the Esper Odin. Very, very cool. And then Battlefield Forge is that town in Final Fantasy VII, which I forget, but yeah, it's got the big gun and it shoots the weapon. So yeah, cool references all over the place. Like Cinderglade, that would be Yuffie's hometown. I forget what it's called. Oh, Wutai, it says in there, yeah. And then Clifftop Retreat, that is the factory that Cloud and Sephiroth go to investigate together. Next slide, we have Desolate Mire, that's for the Velt. So cool. Fatigued Heath, this is the forest with all of the ghosts in the Phantom Train. And all of these famous lines from the game. Oh my god. And then here we have the Geothermal Bog. This is the Cave of the Phoenix, where Locke Cole goes to try to revive his love. So good. And then here we have like Graven Cairns. This is the tomb where Setzer's like love interest is buried, along with the Indomitable. I forget what the name of the Invincible. I forget what the name of the airship is. And then High Market. This is Nikia. We get the quote from the boy. That's very cool. Isolated Chapel. That's the gate to the Esper world. Oh my god. Yeah, these lands are awesome. Rogue's Passage. This is in the very beginning when the old man is trying to help out Locke and Terra. And then we have some borderless summon sagas. I think these are in the collector boosters, or maybe in the collector pre-constructed decks, but these are cool. Not dying to get these. Maybe the Magus Sisters. And then we have the borderless of the face commanders of the precons. These, I think, are also in the collector boosters only, but correct me if I'm wrong. Definitely want to get Celes and Terra. And that's the last slide, but yeah, super excited for the set. I'm gonna go to the pre-release. Maybe I'll do a video where I show off the cards that I get from there. And then I'll make a video showing off my Celes deck idea. And then maybe do more videos looking at the various cards from the main set based on game. Okay, tell me what you are excited about. Tell me what you are missing. I'm really sad that there's not an Edward card from Final Fantasy IV. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.